Okay, today we'll cover one more important topic, that is the reproductive system. So today we'll talk about the reproductive system. So as you know, the reproductive system is a system that produces the gametes. Okay, the male gamete as well as the female gamete. Male gamete is the sperm and the female gamete is the ovum. Okay, so together these are called as the gametes. Okay, sperm and the ovum. To produce a new organism, when the sperm and the ovum come together, they will help in the production of a new organism that is called as reproduction or the reproductive system. Reproductive system is the system that produces the gametes and the ovum, gametes, that is the sperms and the ovum, to produce the new organism. It conserves the species and ensures the continuity of the life. It consists of reproductive organs specialized for production of the gametes and sex hormones. So it conserves the species so that there can be life throughout, okay, and ensure continuity of the life on this earth. And it consists of reproductive organs specialized for the production of the gametes, as well as along with the gametes, that is the sperm and the ovum, there will be also production of the sex hormones. The male reproductive system will be consisting of the external genital organs like the testis and the penis, and there will be internal genital organs like the epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicles, ejaculatory duct, corpus gland, as well as the prostate gland. All these are the internal genital organs. Testis, it is controversial because some books mention it is as the internal organ, some mention as the external organ because it is present in the scrotum outside, but still it is part of the, it is still inside. So some specify it as the testis as the internal organ, and some classify it under the external genital organs. Now here you can see here, so this is the testis here, and here this is the epididymis, this is the vas deferens going all the way, and here there are seminal vesicles, then the ejaculatory duct is the prostate, and here are the bulbourethral glands. Okay, so then all this sperms will be carried through the penis. Here is the penis. So this is the whole reproductive system in general. There's the testis and epididymis, vas deferens. We'll discuss all these structures one by one. Okay, so this is the male reproductive system. This is the section taken from the and seen from the side. Okay, so this picture is showing the same view as this one, but if you take a section in the midline and then see. Okay, the male reproductive system consists of the scrotum that is below the pelvis. This is the scrotum here, within which will be the testis will be present, within which houses the testis. So scrotum is nothing but a skinny bag or pouch surrounding the testis and provides an environment of 3 degrees cooler than the body temperature. As you know, for the production of the sperms, it needs a temperature lower than the body temperature. That's why the testes are outside the body in the scrotum, so that this scrotum can bring the temperature of the testis to a lesser than 3 to 5 degrees, lesser than the body temperature, and it prevents degeneration of the spermatogonium. So if this temperature is maintained of body temperature for the testis, then it will degenerate the spermatogonium, the sperm producing cells which are producing these sperms. So those will be degenerated, the spermatogonium, the primitive type of sperms. Okay, so that's why the scrotum is a skinny bag which is present outside here in the scrotum, and here you can see the testis, which can bring the temperature of the testis to a lower than the body temperature. Then if you see inside that, there is a muscle called as the cremaster muscle. It's a band of skeletal muscle lies in the scrotum and elevates the testis when the temperature decreases. So if the temperature goes much more below than what is required, then there is a muscle here within the superficial fascia. Okay, so that is called as the cremasteric muscle, which will pull the scrotum upwards so that the body temperature is higher. So when it is lower than what is required, then it is pulled upwards, testis is pulled upwards through the cremaster muscle, which will increase the temperature of the testis. Now coming to the scrotum containing the testis. If you see here, this is the scrotum here, within which we can see the testis. Okay. Then outside we have this muscle here. This is called as the cremaster muscle. Cremaster. So here is the cremasteric muscle. Okay. So this muscle has the power to pull it upwards so that the testis is pulled up and increase the body temperature. So this is the scrotum. This is the back scrotum containing the two testes on either side. They are in pairs, and in between there is a raphe which separate the two cavities. The testis lies in the scrotum, as we have seen, and produces the sperms. They have the capacity to produce sperms and testosterone. This is the hormone, male hormone called as testosterone, the male sex hormone. So the testis not only produces the male gametes, that is the sperms, but also the male sex hormone that is called as the testosterone. This testosterone is very much responsible for the secondary sex characters in case of male, like growing of beard, mustache, high pitch voice, and other things. Okay. Each testis consists of almost 200 to 300 lobules. If you see here, so this is the cross section of the testis, and if you see here, there are septums which divide the whole of the testis into 200 to 300 lobules. Between the two septums, this region is called a lobule. So such kind of lobules are almost 200 to 300, and approximately 250 lobules are there in each testis. Each lobule contains 1 to 4 coiled seminiferous tubules. Within this small area, there will be 1 to 4 highly coiled seminiferous tubules. These are called as seminiferous tubules. These are highly coiled tubes called as seminiferous tubules within each lobule. The seminiferous tubule drain into the rete testis and by the vas efferentia into the epididymis. So if you see here, all these long tubes called as these seminiferous tubules all come here and they all join here. They form a network. This is called as the rete testis. This is called as the rete testis. And from here, all the sperms which are produced in these seminiferous tubules are passed into the rete testis, and from there they are pushed to one more new region called as this is called as the epididymis. This is the epididymis. So the seminiferous tubules drain into the rete testis and by the vas efferentia into the epididymis. So what are the cells of the testis? So the cells of testis are the spermatogonium, that is the sperms producing forming cells. Then there are some cells which produce the testosterone. These are called as the cells of Leydig or Leydig cells. Then there are also supporting cells called as the Sertoli cells or the cells of Sertoli. These protect and support and protect the sperms. So there are three types of cells here. Spermatogonium, those are the primitive sperms. Then the Leydig cells which produce the testosterone, and Sertoli cells which are the supporting cells. Okay. Now coming to the next part from here, this is the septum. These are the lobules within this. There are the seminiferous tubules all come here, form a network, and from there they are draining into a larger tube called as the epididymis. So the duct of the epididymis is 6 meters long when uncoiled. So this epididymis is also made up of a long tube of almost 6 meters, very long tube, but it has the capacity to be in such a small area by the high convolution. So it is convoluted, coiled, and then it can kept in a very small region. Okay, so this is a duct of almost 6 meters long, okay, when uncoiled, and lined with the pseudo stratified columnar epithelium. If you study the histology, it will be lined by the, if you see under the microscope, then you see it is lined by the pseudo stratified columnar epithelium with the stereocilia, which these are small fine fibers like thing which assist in movement of the sperms. The epidermis is the site for the sperm storage and maturation. What is the function of the epidermis? This is the site of storage. Testis is the site of production of the testis, and epidermis is the site of storage of the sperms. Okay, so here will be the storage of the sperms, as well as they also help in the maturation of the sperms. So the sperms, even though they are produced in the testis, they mature when they come into the epidermis. And now from the epidermis, so this is the testis here, from there the sperms are pushed into the epidermis, here they are stored and here they mature, then they pass into a long duct called as the vas deferens, also called as, sometimes called as the ductus deferens. This is the long tube called as the vas deferens, almost 45 centimeters long, transport the sperms from the epidermis to the ejaculatory duct. They are taking the sperms from the scrotum, from the epidermis, that is the scrotum, back into the pelvis, and from there into something called as the ejaculatory duct. We'll see what is ejaculatory duct. Now coming to the one more important accessory organ, say, testis is the main organ which produce the sperms. There are accessory organs like the seminiferous tubules. If you see here, beside this vas deferens, there is a small structure called as the seminal vesicle. Okay, so seminal vesicle lies behind the urinary bladder. Here you can see this is the urinary bladder here. It lies behind in the base of the bladder here. Okay, and secretes about 70% of the volume of the semen. Okay, so that's why it is called as the semen, because it is 70% of the secretion in the semen will be from the seminal vesicles. Okay, that's why it is called as the semen, or it is also called as the seminal fluid, because almost 70% of the volume of the semen will be the seminal vesicles, and the remaining will be the from the other glands as well as the sperms. So what does this seminal vesicle secretes? What is this seminal fluid? It contains fructose, which will help in the nourishment of the sperms. So the sperms are mature or be nourished by this fructose. Okay, so this fructose, which is in the seminal fluid, will nourish the sperms which are produced in the testis and pushed here. Okay, the other substances too are there which assist in the fertilization. It also helps in the fertilization. So this is the seminal vesicle which is present here behind. Okay, so this is the seminal vesicle just beside the ductus deferens. Now, seminal vesicle and the ductus deferens join together to form the ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct, and this will drain into the prostatic urethra. This is the bladder, and from there here, this is the prostate. This is also a necessary gland. So there is urethra passing through the prostate. That is called a prostatic urethra. So this seminal vesicle and the vas deferens join together to form the ejaculatory duct, which will open into the prostatic urethra. So this is the picture showing the same urinary bladder. This is the urinary bladder. Now you are seeing from behind, from here if you see. So this is how it looks like. So this is the vas deferens or ductus deferens, and this is the seminal vesicle. This is the cut section of the same. Vas deferens, seminal vesicles. They both join together to form the ejaculatory duct, and now this is the prostate. This is the prostate, and below we have the bulbourethral glands. We'll talk about that. Okay, so this is the ductus deferens, seminal vesicles, prostate. Okay, now the next important organ is the prostate. This lies just below the urinary bladder. As you can see here, just below the bladder, you can see this is the prostate. Okay, encircles the prostatic urethra. As we have seen, it encircles the prostatic urethra. As you can see, this is the prostatic urethra. So around the prostatic urethra is the prostate. Okay, and secretes about 25% of the seminal fluid. So this will secrete almost 25% of the seminal, even though this is the larger than the seminal vesicle, but the prostate produces only 75 or 25% of the seminal fluid. Contains substance then enhance. What does it this some fluid produced from the prostate will have? It contains substances that enhance the sperm motility and also provide nutrition, especially example like the citric acid and the acid phosphatase enzymes, all are produced here in the prostatic juice or the fluid. The prostatic tumors occur in almost 20% of the male by the 40 years age. Almost 20% of the males will have some kind of prostatic, may be benign or malignant. And 90% of the men by the year 80 years, by the age of 80 years, almost 90% of the males will have some kind of the prostatic. Usually it will be benign prostatic uh, hypertrophy. It is called a BPH, benign prostatic hypertrophy, which is more common than the malignant tumors or the prostate. So here you can see this is the urine bladder, and here is the prostatic urethra, and around that is the prostate. So here also you can see this is the bladder side view, this is the front view, and this is the side view. This is the urethra passing through it, and this is the prostate, and you can see the prostate is passing through the prostate gland. Now next is the bulbourethral gland. There are small glands here. These are called as the bulbourethral glands. These are the bulbourethral. Bulbourethral glands, these are the glands lie inferior to the prostate gland, as you can see here, just inferior to the prostate will be the bulbourethral glands, produce a mucus almost 5% of the seminal fluid. So it will produce mucus and only 5% of the seminal fluid. These are small glands and produce only 5% of the total semen. Mucus enters the sponge urethra before ejaculation. So this bulbourethral glands produce mucus which enters the spongy urethra before ejaculation and cleanses the urethra and neutralizes the vaginal acidic pH. And the vaginal vagina has acidic pH that will kill the sperms. So this secretion from the bulbourethral gland produces the mucus, which not only clears the urethra but also neutralizes the vaginal acidic pH, so that the sperms can be alive. So this is the, as I showed you, these are the bulbourethral gland just below the prostate. So this is the seminal vesicles on either side. This is the prostate and the bulbourethral gland. In this picture, I already showed you this is the bulbourethral gland. Now coming to the last structure, that is the penis. Penis is the erectile organ which conveys the sperms to the vagina. So the function of the penis is just to convey the sperms into the vagina. It has a root body and the glands. Okay, and the erection of the penis is not nervous, but it is with the blood filled into the cavities in the penis, which make it stiff. And the ejaculation of the ejaculation means ejection of the sperm, that is called as ejaculation. There are so two terms, erection and ejaculation. Erection means the penis filled with blood becomes stiff, and ejaculation means ejection of the sperms. The glans penis is the terminal end and most sensitive part of the penis because it contains the nerve endings. It is covered by a foreskin or prepuce. Okay. Okay. And in case of circumcision, this prepuce is removal of the skin of prepuce for religious or treatment purposes. So we remove this part of the skin called as the prepuce, which covers the most anterior part of the penis, that is called as the glans penis. Now going to the next part, that is the female reproductive system. Female reproductive system. So the female reproductive system, all the organs are within the pelvis, and again, just like in case of male, these are also divided into external and internal. The most important will be the internal organs like the uterus. Here you can see there is a side view of the female pelvis. You can see the uterus. Then there are fallopian tubes. These are called as uterine tubes. Fallopian tubes are also called as oviduct. Then there is ovary here, and here is the vagina. Okay, then we have the external organs collectively called as the vulva. Okay, which consists of the mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, clitoris, as well as the hymen. All these are part of the external organs. So we'll go to these structures one by one. The first one will be the uterus. Uterus. It is the muscular organ which receive the fertilized ova and produce the suitable environment for the development of the fetus. So here is the uterus. So this is the uterus. This is the cavity of the uterus. So it has three parts called the fundus, body, and the cervix. We'll talk about this. So this is the uterus here. So this is a muscular organ, as you can see here. It has a thick wall, thick wall. Okay. So it is a muscular organ. Receive the fertilized ovum. So the fertilized ovum will come here and come and get implanted in the wall and starts developing. Okay, so it receives the fertilized ovum and produces a suitable environment for the development of the fetus. So it has three parts: the fundus, body, and the cervix. As you can see, this is the fundus, which is above the fallopian tubes on either side. This is called as fundus. This is the large part called as the body, and the lower part, this is called as the cervix. Cervix dilates during labor. Okay, only during labor this cervix will be dilated. If not, it is usually kept patent, closed. Okay. The wall of the uterus consists of three layers, that is the perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium. If you see the wall, so it has three layers. Outside wall, this is called as the perimetrium, the muscular wall called as myometrium, and the inner wall is called as endometrium. Endometrium, very important. Perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium. These are the three layers. Perimetrium, the outer peritoneal covering, that is called as the perimetrium. Then we have the myometrium. So this is the muscle called as the myometrium. Then we have the endometrium, which is called as the internal mucous lining. Okay. So these are the different parts: fundus, body, and the cervix, and the three layers within the wall: outer perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium. Now coming to the cervix. So this part is called as the cervix. So it begins from the internal os and goes up to the external os. So this is the cervical canal here, and it is narrow at 2 points, okay, upper and lower. So the internal os will connect the cervical canal into the cavity of the uterus, and the external os will open into this is the vagina here. The fallopian tube is the muscular tube that transports the ovum from the ovary to the uterine cavity. So if you see here, this is the fallopian tube, long tube, which carries the sperm or the ovum from the ovary into the one part of the large part of the fallopian tube, that is called as the ampulla, as well as it also carries sperms from here, carrying from the vagina, entering cervix, and the body of the uterus enters here up to the fallopian tube in the ampullary part, where it gets fertilized. So the fallopian tube is a muscular tube that transports the ovum from the ovary to the uterine cavity. Also, it carries these sperms. So it carries the ovum from the ovary to the uterine cavity all the way. Then when once there is fertilization, it will come back to the uterine cavity. So fallopian tube is the muscular tube that transports the ovum from the ovary to the uterine cavity. It is the site of fertilization. So this is a very important site of here. This is the site where the fertilization will be taking place. So the fallopian tube has four parts: infundibulum, ampulla, isthmus, and the intrauterine part. If you see here, so it has a funnel-like shape. This is called as the infundibulum, and the most dilated part, this is called as the ampulla. Then we have the intramural part, narrowing part, the isthmus part, and the intramural part. Intramural means within the muscle, within the wall. There, this small part is called intramural, and this narrow part is called as the isthmus. So infundibulum, ampulla, isthmus, and the intrauterine part. Ovaries lie in the lateral pelvic wall close to uterus and the fallopian tube. As you can see here, these are the ovaries here. They're present on either side, both the sides, and they're present in the lateral wall on the away from the center, okay, near the fallopian tubes. Okay, lateral wall close to the uterus and the fallopian tube. It produces the ovum. The ovary Here, if you see here, there are different stages of the production of the ovary. Okay, so the ovum. So different stages of production of the ovum within the ovary. Okay, so the ovary lies in the lateral wall close to the uterus and the fallopian tube. It produces the ovum as well as the female sex hormone, that is the estrogen and progesterone. In case of male, the male hormone will be the testosterone. In case of female, the sex hormones will be two, estrogen as well as the progesterone. Then finally coming to the vagina, the lowermost part of the female reproductive system. So this is called as the vagina. Okay. Vagina is the muscular tube. It is 10 centimeters long, receives the sperms deposited by the penis and conveys them to the uterus. So vagina is the copulatory organ, which is muscular tube almost 10 centimeters long and receives the sperms which are deposited by the penis and convey them to the uterus. So the cervix has the vagina has the capacity to receive the sperms and then convey it through the cervix into the uterus and from there up to the fallopian tubes where it can meet the ovum. So this is the coronal section of the uterine tubes. As you can see, this is the uterine tube. So this is the ovary, this is the infundibulum. This whole thing is called as the ampulla. So this is the infundibulum and this is called as the ampulla. Then we have the narrowing part called as the isthmus and the part which is within the wall of the uterus, that is called as the intramural part. So these are the different regions: infundibulum, ampulla, isthmus, and the intramural part. Now you can see the ovary. These are the two ovaries. They are in pairs on both the sides, just like the testes are in pairs. Even the ovaries are in pairs on both the sides, right and left. Okay, and these are the fallopian tubes. And the most dilated part, this funnel-shaped structure, this is called as the infundibulum. Now you can see again the uterus, ovary, as well as uterine tubes, as well as here there is the vaginal canal. Now coming to the external genital organs. Now coming to the external genital organs, that is the clitoris. Clitoris is homologous to the penis in male. Just like males have penis, the females have a short penis called as the clitoris. Just like the penis is very sensitive to touch, especially the glands, similarly the clitoris is sensitive to touch. Okay, this is called as the clitoris. It is homologous to the penis in males. It is erectile tissue. Okay, the prepuce or foreskin covers most of the clitoris. So this there is a skin around it, just like prepuce in case of penis. So which will cover the clitoris. The glans clitoris contains the nerves endings. So the gland clitoris will have the nerve endings. That's why it is very sensitive to touch and it is a erectile tissue. Then we have the labia minora and labia majora, or folds of skin, and labia majora being hairy. If you see here around this is called as the vaginal orifice. This is the big orifice here. Okay, so around that there is a thick pad of skin with the hairs. This is called as the labia majus, or it's also called as the labia majora or labia major. Okay, then we have inside there is a thinny skin without the pad of fat. Here there is thick pad of fat and hair, but here there are no hair and no fat. So this is called as the labia minora. Okay, labia minora or the labia minus and the labia majus, also called as the labia majora, or folds of skin, labia majora being hairy. So only the labia majora will have hair. The vestibule contains the vaginal and urethral opening. This whole thing is called as the vestibule, which has the vaginal orifice as well as the urethral orifice. There are two orifices, urethral orifice in the front and the vaginal orifice will be behind. It is the area surrounded by the labia minora. So the labia minora will cover the whole of the vestibule containing the urethral orifice as well as the vaginal orifice. So this is all about the reproductive organs, both in case of male and the female. So if you have any doubts regarding this, you can ask me now. So do you have any questions? Okay. Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.